Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Real Hawk Talk. I am Brian Nemhauser, and it's a pretty special day, and actually evening now, I should say. I don't know if Evan or Jeff actually even know this, but we've been making the climb on Apple Podcasts. We've been trying to we started at like 4.3 because we used to just never do the show. People give us bad ratings because we were inconsistent. Our sound was bad, all this stuff. But we've making the climb. We got to 4.6. We've been at 4.6 forever. We got to 4.7. And if you know anything about the difference between 4.6 and 4.7, this is like Brock and Salk have been trying to get to 4.7 on Apple Podcasts for years. So when I saw that this morning at like 5 a.m, I immediately texted Brock and Salk and I was like, hey, if you guys want any tips for how to get there, just let me know. It's good. It's good up here. So congratulations and thanks to everybody who's given us a 5-star review. We got Evan Hill at Evan Hill HB, Jeff Simmons at Real Jeff Simmons, and we got a lot to cover. I didn't do a Hawk Blogger mornings. We haven't seen each other for a while. You guys ready to kick this thing off?
Let's do it. I've been looking forward to this.
Yeah, Jeff. You know, you and I have talked a lot, and you, I think it's pretty clear we're pretty enthusiastic about how things are going. How do you think Evan's gonna? What's your take on what Evan's gonna say when I ask him how he's feeling about the Seahawks?
Evan always takes things to like extreme levels, and like he goes from like something makes a bad play to like I'm ready to jump off a bridge in 5 minutes. So if Evan feels the same way most people did watching that game, I think this is going to be nuts. I'm very curious to hear what he has to say.
Let me open up with a fact for you gentlemen. Okay.
Oh, here we go.
I am so high off of game 2 of the preseason that I am having to naturally pull myself back and be like, Evan, this is unacceptable, this excitement level. But here's the thing, gentlemen. What we are seeing this preseason is something and this is not an exaggeration. Yes, I exaggerate all the time. This is not an exaggeration. In my adult life as a Seahawks fan, as an adult who has watched the Seahawks, I have never seen an offensive line from Seattle with this positive of early indicators, particularly among key star, prospects that they've drafted into the interior, excel like this and give such legitimate reason for positivity, such legitimate reason for hope. Like, this is something that this team has struggled with for literally, like, what are we talking about? Going back to like 2010, 2011, like was when they were last like competent, the Max Unger days. Guys, we have an interior offensive line that is making holes that like skyscrapers could run through. Like, this is, we talk about what Gray Zabel did on whatever Friday night that was last week. Jalen Sundell, he played well. He played really well too. Him and Gray Zabel seem to have like a chemistry going back to their college days that I feel like is not getting enough attention. So even Anthony Bradford, I've got to give him a little.
Are you okay? Hold on, Evan.
Positive
buddy.
Preseason. So I'm gonna rein myself back in. I'm going to think emotionally stable thoughts. I'm going to exercise caution. But I'm just telling you guys, we are seeing things we have not seen in my adult life as a Seahawks fan, and that's a big deal. I'm not, it's not guaranteed that they're going to be some super productive unit, in the season. But I'll end my rant in a second here, Brian. But this is what I got to say. Like, I told you guys this over text. I need to vocalize it out loud. A few months ago, I think we all were sort of in this headspace entering this season where it was like, this defense, they're a really strong unit, really, really, really improved over the course of last year, particularly towards the end. Mike McDonald has this unit on a trajectory. They added some key pieces in the offseason, some really solid veteran talent. And I think my mind has been like, this is going to be a top 5, top 3 defensive unit. And the offense is going to be, probably bottom half of the league, maybe on the more competent side, middle of the rankings, if all things go well. I'm starting to talk myself into the offense being better than the defense. So these sound bites could be very bad in like 2 months, and feel free to dunk on my ass. Like, I will take it. Like, at me, shame me. I do not care. This is raw enthusiasm. We are seeing things. I am seeing things I have never seen before in my entire life, adult life, as a Seahawks fan. So, I'm going to try to be emotionally stable, but guys, this is exciting. This is not fake optimism. This is not fake BS. Like, this is if John Schneider is finally figuring it out and able to develop, a competent offensive line, particularly on the interior. This left side looks really good. All of a sudden, I think this team's ceiling is potentially much higher than I think we all realize. So
I think we can wrap there, Jeff. I think Evan covered it all. What do you think?
I don't know how I follow that. Like, I don't know what Evan does to his body to get that kind of energy, but I'd love to know.
It's raw emotion, though, guys. Like,
you're not wrong.
And here's the thing: like, what are we? 6 days ago that this game was 5-6 days ago, whatever. Like, I know the preseason is like exciting and like it can consume your thoughts and like get everybody to irrational levels of hope, but we're seeing steps. We're seeing these early indicators where we just have not seen this before. Guys taking steps that I think we expected out of the gate, Gray's able, but I think he's blowing past even my expectations in training camp. So
my take on, I've watched a lot of preseason. Outside of Abdul Carter, who I think Brian would say was the best player in the whole draft, who looks incredible. I heard Daniel Jeremiah on his podcast say Gray's able looks better than any rookie in the league he's seen so far. And that, to me, I had the same reaction as Evan on Friday night. I was sitting there with like a goofy looking smile just watching that. And I think I just put it like a tweet, like, and then I thought Zabel just looked incredible. And look, it's one thing for me to say who's like an amateur. I'm not an offensive line. I'm not a film expert. I don't sit there and grind film. But all the people who I respect who know offensive line and who see offensive line, like the Mike Golics of the world and professional scouts, and they're all like, holy shit, Zabel looks like a dude. And guys, I think you just have to go back to Evan's reaction and Brian's reaction on their draft show and seeing the fire and the energy. And it felt like our national nightmare is finally over. Kind of feels that way watching that game on Friday, right?
We are in incredibly dangerous territory.
Yeah.
And that is the topic of the night. You guys could not have set it up any better. We haven't talked about this because we never plan our shows. You know that by now. But the headline for this show is Reality Check. What we are going to do, we are going to systematically go through everything that we've seen in preseason that got us excited, and each of us are going to either buy it or sell it. And we're going to go through and we're going to kind of pressure test. Do we really believe what we're seeing in this player, that player, this unit, that unit? We're going to talk about that. If you haven't already, click like, subscribe, do that. Make sure you follow over at Instagram. If we get to 10,000 followers on Instagram, 25,000 subscribers on YouTube, I'll be giving away tickets to the 49ers game to some lucky Seahawks fans. So let's get that going. Before we get into all that, let's cover a couple things news-wise. It just kind of broke before we did the show. They loosely relate to the Seahawks, right? So the 49ers who, my God, Brandon Ayuk injured, Juwan Jennings injured, or at least not practicing, supposedly with a calf. Maybe it's contract related. Ricky Pearsall is playing. He's the only one that seems to be playing. Jacob Cowing, if anyone knows who that is, was hurt, came back, got hurt again today. You kind of keep going through their list of receivers. They're all hurt. And so they make a trade for Sky Moore from the Chiefs, and they exchange, I think, like 6th and 7th round picks to do it. In addition to that, we saw Devon Vele, the almost 28-year-old second-year player, was a rookie last year, was on his mission. I think that's why he was so old when he got back to be drafted. He got traded for a 4th and a 7th to the Saints. So the wide receiver market has been heating up. Jeff, I want to start with you on this. What was your reaction to those two moves?
First of all, I didn't really even know who Ville was on Denver, and I had to look him up. And I'm a pretty sick guy. I usually know who Everett is, and I had no memory of him at all. And the fact that they traded more for him, I saw, than what Dallas traded for George Pickens. The Saints are just inept right now. They're one of those teams that's with the Colts that just have such a bleak future. Like, why is a rebuilding team trading picks away for 28-year-old players? It makes no sense. So I kind of rolling my eyes at that one. It seems like Sean Payton kind of fleeced his old buddies over there. And then the Niners, who you didn't even mention the suspension they got today with DeMarcus Robinson.
I thought you'd want to bring that up.
So Brian, you've been talking more than anyone about how bare bones their receiver room is right now. And yeah, a report came out today that they were shopping around the market. They trade for Sky Moore, who, if anyone followed the Chiefs or plays fantasy football, this guy's been a colossal bust. And if you want to get an idea of how he's looked at in the league, Matt Harmon, who does a receiver website called Reception Perception, he's a Yahoo fantasy guy, but he's a receiver analyst at heart. He put out a tweet that is really emblematic of how low the opinion of him is around the league. And he's been a horrible player in the end. He's been like a D. Eskridge level player. So yeah, he ran a touchdown back in the preseason. I think Eskridge did that last preseason. And to me,
Jeff, where was this guy drafted?
Second round a couple of years ago in Kansas City, and he's just
Holy crap.
Brian put out a thing. Like, I think he doesn't have more than 250 yards in a season.
No, he has one touchdown over his career.
Jeez.
He's been a really, I mean, you're playing for Andy Reid with Patrick Mahomes, and you're supposedly your specialty is like being a player in space that can kind of catch screens and do stuff with it. You're not going to find a better place to do that. And someone else put out a tweet that there's only been one receiver who has left Kansas City and gone on with Andy Reid and gone on to be better somewhere else, and that's DeMarcus Robinson, and he's suspended for 3 games. So, I mean, the Seahawks are looking at what very likely could be a receiving core in week 1 that is Ricky Pearsall, Robbie Chosen, maybe Sky Moore. I don't know. Like, it's going to be George Kittle should be there. Christian McCaffrey should be there. But it's going to be a very different looking 49ers offense than what we've seen over the past few years. So the only thing I wanted to touch on there before we get into the main event, Bob Condotta in his Seattle Times article today was pretty emphatic that his belief is MVS is safe and is going to be a Seahawk, and that if they were really thinking about not having him, they wouldn't be sitting him during some of the preseason games or treating him like a starter, essentially, or a made man. And I'm out there saying, I think the Seahawks are going to have a hard time cutting the other guys. Like, he has absolutely been outplayed by Jake Bobo. He's been outplayed by Derek Young. He's been outplayed by Torrey Horton. So you're really going to keep a guy that has no special teams value just because of a $3 million guaranteed contract? Like, Jeff, I'll start with you, and Evan, if you have any thoughts, feel free to chime in. But like, do you think that MVS is on this roster if you had to bet?
I do, and I don't think it's probably deserved. I wonder how much the Horton injury that just happened helps him. And I don't know the extent of it. They've been pretty, it's not serious, but he hasn't been practicing. I think that's going to help his case. And really, I know the Vikings acquired 2 6th-round picks today, and that's a team that is out with Jordan Addison. They're in the receiver market. The Jets, I don't know if you've seen the Jets depth chart. It is horrendous. Well, they have a quarterback that can't throw, so maybe it makes sense not to spend a receiver. But there's going to be a trade market if they can do it. I think I'm with Bob on this one, but if I was probably making the decision, I wouldn't keep him.
Well, I don't know what happened to Brian, so I don't know if this podcast.
Okay, I thought did my internet just go?
I don't know if this is going to stay live or not, but
I think Brian was so mad that I said we're keeping MBS. He like left the podcast.
Can I just add a little bit of color?
Misplaced click. So yeah.
No, you're good. Let me add a little bit of color to what Jeff said though, real quick. I think this is where teams can get a little bit, and this is speculative, of course, but like they need to, like, this is sunk cost, right? They brought this guy in as a safe hedge. I get it, but like he's been outplayed by other players on the roster. He has $1.5 million in guaranteed base salary. They already paid him a $1.5 million signing bonus. That has gone out the door. You know, if they can trade him, you know, they may be able to save like a couple of million, but this team should not be afraid to cut him for a younger, better player. This guy's 31 years old. He's 31. It's a 1-year deal. You have how many millions of dollars in cap space? Like, if I'm looking at it like super fast, they have like 35 million right now, projected 54 million. Come on, guys. Go with the younger, better player, special teams value. Like you said, Brian, this should not be, again, this is speculative, but it should not be a hard decision.
Well, we're going to find out. I mean, clearly this is the time of year where teams are trading their excess. Like, we don't want this guy's not, like, Sky Moore probably wasn't going to make the Chiefs. Who knows what was going on with Vele? There might be other reasons that they were willing to make that move in Denver, but this is going to be, and I brought it up before, we know the Packers want to get rid of Romeo Doubs. He's a guy that could be cut. Is that a guy that John Schneider goes and makes a deal for? I don't know. It could be interesting. The only other topic I wanted to kind of get into, and maybe I'll save this because I think there's a question in patrons that we'll get to this, and I'll ask Evan this later. But there's not been a lot of Seahawks news, like as far as maneuvering, and we're used to, things happening. So it is interesting. We're charging Tuesday is cut down day, and we are going to learn a lot more between now and then. So let's get to the main event. I've been looking forward to having this conversation because, look, you guys know as much as anybody. I want to believe, like, I think we all want to believe that this team is going to be good. And the team that we saw on Friday night, like, that's a team that looks like if you put your hand over, it's like you didn't know anything about anything and you watched every single preseason game for every single team, you'd say the Seattle Seahawks look like the best team in football. Like, I'm not kidding. Like, they 100% were, the execution was the best. They were the most dominant. Go ahead, Evan.
I'm so glad you mentioned that because I need to vocalize what I shared with you guys over text. The betting odds for, I know Super Bowl like champions, it's stupid. It's not super worthwhile, but I found an interesting data point. The Patriots, the Bears, the Cardinals, all better odds to be Super Bowl champions than the Seattle Seahawks. I'm not saying the Seahawks are going to be Super Bowl champions, obviously. Like, I'm not there yet. I'm talking myself into it, but I'm not there yet. And it's just the national media, it's just, there's going to be a really quick switcheroo here in terms of the narrative. And you're already starting to see some of it with some of the guys, changing their priors and hedging their bets a little bit. So I'm just going to say, let's not forget here, the mainstream National Football League media had this team in the dumps. They had them worse than the Bears, the Patriots, a bottom 5 roster in the NFL. Like, it's disrespectful, to be quite honest with you. So I'm sorry, I had to jump in real quick.
No, that's absolutely true. And let's be honest, when you have Vegas setting odds and you have Vegas setting over-unders at 7.5 wins, there's a reason those guys make all the money they make. Now, that doesn't mean that they actually believe that's the real odds. It's the right odds for them to make the most money because they're taking advantage of what the public believes, right? But I think it's important that we take at least a few minutes here and test our feelings, test what we've seen. And so what I want to do, we're going to go kind of one by one through a lot of parts of what we've seen, and we're going to do a buy or sell. You could say you're buying it. You believe that this is going, like, you believe what you see. You believe it's going to actually carry into the season. You're selling it. You're like, I have not seen enough. I don't believe. And we're going to start with one that I think maybe my favorite one, because this guy caused Evan to ask me to clip out a part of a show previously because he didn't want it to be on the internet anymore. Let's talk about Anthony Bradford. Anthony Bradford. And let me give you a little bit of information before you make your proclamations. You might say, well, I mean, Anthony Bradford had a remarkable, first two games, and he's got an 81 PFF grade. That is amazing. What if I told you that Anthony Bradford last year in preseason had a 74.9 PFF grade? Now his first year, he had a 43.7 preseason grade. So it's not like it's always been good, but Jeff, are you buying it? Or are you selling it on Anthony Bradford being the player that we've seen come the regular season?
I totally hate myself for saying this, but I'm buying. I'm buying.
Ooh.
I think the scheme and the coaching and that he's come in better shape. I think we're going to see some ugly stuff in pass pro, and we're going to see some penalties. But I think the combination of him and Lucas on the right side and the physical size and power, I think that's real. And I think if he can be coached up, and it seems like the coaching looks amazing. That's been amazing. How coordinated everyone is. I still think Bradford's going to do a couple things, but Bradford in the last couple of years looked like one of the worst players in the NFL.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff I've seen, even though, again, the obvious caveat's preseason, he looks legitimate. And again, I don't think he's going to be a Pro Bowl or anything like that, but I think with the right coaching and with being asked to do with a line scheme that helps players that have struggled, I think he's going to be a really good run blocker.
Okay, hold up. I need to drill further into that. I need to ask a follow-up.
I hate myself for saying this. I'm going to look so
dumb. Fast forward 17 games. Is he an above average replacement value type of player? Like, is he above the median?
I'm going to say yes. I think his run blocking is good enough to get you over the medium level.
I'm going to come back to this because I have a follow-up too. But Evan, I need to know your buy or sell. This is a guy that you've compared to a terrorist before. Are you sure? Are you sure you know how you feel?
Zero recollection of what you're talking about.
There's no evidence of it, but yes.
Is there a delay? Is there a wait for more evidence?
Nope.
Decision?
No, you have to say, like, are you going into this season?
I would have taken that one.
Are you going into this season believing that Anthony Bradford is going to be a good starting offensive lineman?
I can't do it. I can't do it.
You got to do it.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I can talk myself into a lot of optimism. No, I can talk myself into a lot of optimism. I'm talking about this offense being better than the defensive unit. Like, I am stretching far right now, guys. Stretching further than anything I've ever done in yoga. This is mental stretching what's happening right now. I'm not there with Anthony Bradford yet.
Okay. So you're selling.
I'm happy to be. Yeah.
You're selling. I respect that. And I think that makes some sense. And before I share my thoughts there, I just say, Jeff, I'm curious what, like you mentioned a couple things, but I know you're super skeptical. What's helped you really overcome that skepticism to believe what you're seeing?
Just how coherent he looked relative to the scheme. He wasn't doing anything. He looked like a totally different guy while being coached. And again, nothing against Scott Huff or his previous coach before, but he didn't look like when you watch Bradford play the last year, he looked out of shape. He looked tired. He looked like he couldn't run 3 plays in a row without missing the snap count. And when he was drafted, I was told he was a great athlete, which made me question the entire RAS score model after watching him play the first 2 years. And when you said he was good and he looked good in camp, I wanted to throw something at my computer hearing that. But watching him play, I hate myself for saying this is where preseason can trick you. I've now convinced myself the Seahawks might have a really good offensive line if Bradford's good, because now you have a left side of those two and the right side of those two. If Bradford is above average with Zabel and Lucas is healthy, they have like a potentially like top 10 offensive line.
Okay.
Oh,
Hold on. We're not there. We're not there yet. So, yeah, go ahead, Evan.
I vividly remember asking Brian in our group chat, like, I don't know if it was OTAs or what, but this was like a few weeks back. I think this was in July. And I remember asking Brian, I was like, what was your first gut reaction after their first day seeing the team neck deep in the offseason? And it was either the first or second thing that Brian stated. He said, Anthony Bradford showed up in really damn good shape. and I could not believe it. So I have to give you some legitimacy and credit there.
Well, that is nice of you. I mean, I knew what I was saying when I was saying it and how it was going to be received. I'll just say that. I didn't expect anybody to actually believe me. And I'll say this, my buying selling, we're going to go faster on some of the other ones, but here's where I am. What I'm buying for Anthony Bradford is that I think he's going to be an above average starter. That's what I'm buying. I think that he is also going to be a guy that Evan absolutely hates at times during the season. There's going to be fans that are like, oh my God, he got absolutely whooped in a pass protection situation. Like, I still think that he's got that hole. If they're going to have a straight drop back kind of thing, I think he's going to struggle. If there's going to be a really active defensive tackle, I think he's going to whiff on some blocks. I still think that's there. I also think he may be one of the better run blocking guards in football. Like, and I think that I also am buying he is their best guard option. Like, he should be the starter. Like at right guard.
Oh,
yeah. So that,
okay. I almost choked you there.
That competition is just over then. Is that what we're assuming?
It's got to be. Who's even second?
Unless Dalton Reisner is a guy that they're going to sign, and somehow I can't imagine them placing that guy as a starter. Yeah.
He's not a good run blocker, right?
No,
he struggled in Minnesota.
He's just got to be veteran depth, or maybe they need a leader in the room. I don't know.
We'll see. So that's Anthony Bradford. We've got 2 buys and a sell. All right. Next, we're going to go to his right, Abe Lucas, who has not missed a practice, who looks like at minimum a Pro Bowl right tackle, the way he is playing. And that's what I'm going to ask you to buy or sell. Is Abe Lucas going to play enough and play well enough to be a Pro Bowl level right tackle this year? You buying it or selling it? Evan, you're first.
I think I'm buying. I want to believe that he can stay healthy, and I'm going to lean into the positivity on this one. What we saw from him year one was just so exciting. So I hope that he can return to form. And if we could have staples at left tackle, right tackle, left guard, center for the foreseeable future, that would have me so excited. And right tackle is like an underrated, important position. So I'm going to choose to believe and buy on this one.
All right, Jeff, just so you know, Abe Lucas is not the second, not the third. He is the number 1 rated offensive tackle by PFF in preseason with a 89.7 grade. And if you're curious what he's done in past preseasons, in 2023, he had a 62 preseason grade. 2022, he had a 74 preseason grade. So this is different, at least by those standards. Are you buying or selling that level of excellence from the right tackle?
I'm probably selling. I don't think it's that far off. I just think he'll be like a tier below that. And nothing against him. I think a lot of people who've watched Lucas play so far have been like, wow, this guy looks awesome. I saw someone who put out the film say that. But I think just with health, and there's just a lot of other good right tackles, I'm going to sell that a little bit and hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. I'm buying for sure on that one. I'm much more confident in buying that one than the Anthony Bradford one. And let's zoom out for a second. Like we could talk about each individual player, but like Sundell is another one we could talk about. Obviously, Gray Zabel is the one we could talk about. But let's talk about the offensive line in general. You guys started teasing it. This looks like not a bottom 5 unit, not a bottom 10 unit. It looks like the way they're playing, it looks like at least a top 15 unit. Let's set the over-under at 15, and let's talk about like a top half of the NFL offensive line. That would be a massive, massive leap from where they've been. And let's acknowledge like new scheme, new coaching. Like we're going to talk about the offense in general in a little bit. Is it realistic that what is one of the youngest offensive lines in the league with a rookie is going to be able to be one of the top half of the league's offensive line? Jeff, where are you at?
I'm buying. Historically, the Shanahan scheme with the line, they're very good at run blocking. They're very good at playing when the game script is in your favor. But the flaw has been when a lot of their guards that are buoyed by scheme have to pass protect, or they're playing from behind when pure drop back, they get exposed. And you look at some of the guards the Niners have had over the years, and not the most talented players, but they've been able to run that scheme. But now I'm thinking of the Seahawks line, all of a sudden, they don't have the weak kind of players that they have. Gray Zabel and Anthony Bradford's a big dude, and Abe Lucas, he is a lot different than the kind of right tackles they've been kind of putting out there. I think if you can have that Shanahan run scheme with the kind of power that they have on this team, I think that might break the mold of kind of the flaws of this offensive line scheme. And the zone blocking historically has been the smaller, fast guys. But this team, if Bradford can play and Lucas stays healthy, they're going to be pretty damn strong too. So I'm thinking they're going to be potentially top 15. And I got very upset when I saw Sheil Kapadia say they're going to be a bottom 5 offensive line again. That really triggered me. So I think watching them, there's no way they're going to be a bottom 5 offensive line.
Wow. No way.
No way. They're not.
No way.
They're not. They're competent at the very least. You've seen what a bottom 5, you saw what it looked like in Seattle when it was bottom 5. It was bottom 5 a lot of the last 7 to 10 years. I don't think it's going to get, unless there's major injury, or I think if these guys can stay healthy, I don't think there's a way it gets bottom 5.
Yeah, I mean, these guys aren't Bradley Sowells. They're not Jamarcus Webbs. Like, this is these are guys who actually have some semblance of talent. I think they probably end up like overall ranking somewhere in the 13 to 15 range. If I had to like gut call it, I think their run blocking is going to be like what they hang their hats on, though. Like, we've got some maulers in the run game, and I think they could be a top 5-7 run blocking unit, to be quite honest with you guys. Like, the pass blocking, I think, is going to lag a little bit, but they've got some maulers. They really do. And this new scheme, John Benton, who's like, I think, not getting enough attention for some of the development that I think we're seeing with some of these players that we didn't expect it from. He deserves some credit. So, yeah, I'm buying on them. Top 13 to 15 type unit overall.
That I mean, I'm there. I'm there as well. But I feel like we gotta test ourselves on this. Like, are we really like, if we were making the case that wasn't going to happen, what would we point to? What evidence would we say? Like, come on, hold on a second. There's just no way. What's the valid skepticism on the offensive line, which has been a terrible part of this team for a long time?
It's very hard to be like super skeptical and look at past evidence, though, because it's a completely new offensive coaching staff, right? Completely new zone blocking scheme, new offensive line coach. I mean, if I was playing devil's advocate, I'd be like, go watch Anthony Bradford's tape, from the past year or two, and look at the trauma he caused you. That's what I would point towards. But I struggle to find a lot of areas to point to. Jeff, are you?
Well, we haven't really seen them in like a lot of unfavorable situations where it's 3rd and long or pure drop back. Like, the game was called so well and they blocked so well in the run game. They didn't even have to get into a difficult, like, the degree of difficulty for the passing offense was so low We didn't see them. We haven't really seen them go up against like a blue chip kind of defensive player, or a really good defensive line. So if they get into games where they're going to have to be a lot of passing situations and a lot of things where you can't scheme around it, and it's just pure drop back, I have no idea what this would look like. But again, I think just putting Zabel in there as a first round pick, and now you have 2 first round picks, a couple third round picks, and undrafted guy. Like, it's a talented group, but again, we have to obviously last year you saw what happened when they went all drop back. It was a freaking disaster. But I do acknowledge, like, going from like a Laken Tomlinson to a first round pick and having Abe Lucas on the field versus the shit they were putting out at right tackle last year, talent level's pretty high.
I always watch Brian's facial reactions very closely when the name Laken Tomlinson is mentioned. I always want to see how he's feeling deep inside his heart, if he's moved on yet. Like, how we processing that, Brian?
I'm not going to grace that with an answer because there's been nobody more on Gray Zabel than I've been, and certainly have brought up that all he has to do is clear Laken Tomlinson, which is not a high bar. So he's I think he's already shown that he's going to do that. So here is my cold water on the offensive line, and then we'll move on. Gray Zabel's a rookie. There are not very many rookies that go through an NFL season and don't get baptized, like, often. You know, like, I've seen just yesterday at practice, Leonard Williams made him look like a rookie multiple times. Jaron Reed.
Big cat, though. That's big cat, though.
I understand. Jaron Reed has done it at times. Like, he is not perfect. He is not. And I think there's a risk also of expectations outstripping what is a good offensive line in the NFL. Like, there's going to be mistakes. There's going to be, you're going to get beat. It's still going to happen. I think the other thing I'd throw the first 2 guys we talked about, Anthony Bradford, he very well could be still such a weak spot that it really causes challenge with what they're doing. He might get penalties. He might not be in the fourth quarter as good as he's shown through 2 series or so in preseason games, like the conditioning. Like, I think those are things. I'm pretty confident in Abe Lucas, but of course, like, there's always health issues. Offensive linemen, people have, if Abe Lucas goes out, I think there's a pretty big fall off to who's their next tackle. Not as big as last year, but I think there's a meaningful fall off. So, Jalen Sundell, who we haven't talked a lot about, has never started in the NFL going into this season. Like, I'm bullish on all these things, but I'm trying to think of what are we going to say in week 4 if things are going bad and we're like, how did we not see this? And I think all the things I just mentioned are, Jalen Sundell is an undrafted free agent from North Dakota State. Like, all of a sudden, because he got a 92 whatever grade and looked like a Creed Humphrey like center out there, we're like, he's great. But for all we know, he's Patrick Lewis.
Counterpoint, farm boy, and he picks up rocks in his spare time as a kid.
Yes.
Those were his fun hobbies with Gray Zabel.
Yes.
Does that not balance it out?
I just think he's really good, and I think he's a really good fit for this scheme.
The best guard in the NFL last year went to Wisconsin Whitewater. So this is a position where you have guys emerge, but yeah, if you look at all the individual spots, I don't think it's going to be like last year quite where, like, within 1 quarter we were like, this is the 32nd ranked offensive line in the league when they get, I think, 2 safeties in the game we were all at. I don't think it's going to look like that, but look, I don't know if we'll see like the run. We haven't really seen them go up against like a high quality player yet. I know the Chiefs the Raiders starters were out there though, and Max Crosby and Abe Lucas was kind of tossing around Max Crosby, which was pretty crazy. But the Chiefs had all their guys except for Chris Jones.
Did you see Max Crosby abusing Colton McKivitz the next week?
Yeah.
Did you also hear Colin Cowherd say that Gray Zabel was tossing around Chris Jones, who didn't play in the game?
I didn't hear that.
Are you serious? Did he actually say that?
Yes, because one of the Seahawks troll accounts that posts video of he was tossing around a different player and he said it was Chris Jones, like the ones where they do that and they it's not actually what's in the video, and he obviously saw it and just believed it.
Oh no! Was it my buddy, the bread man? That guy's
No. I think it was one of those. I'm not going to
the
give them the
aggregators.
credit enough to name their account.
The
But it was
bread
one of
man's
those.
pretty funny.
So, yeah. Let me switch gears on how I want to go about this, because we're not going to go through one at a time. Evan, of the things that have you really feeling positive, which is the one that you have the least amount of confidence in? Which is the one that you're like, man, I'm going to be hurt. This is going to hurt me. I just don't, I can't really, I shouldn't be letting myself get excited about this.
You're going to be shocked at my answer. You're going to be shocked at my answer. I have been watching what the offensive line has been doing, and I've been dreaming up this, insane idealistic season where Kenneth Walker has 1,500 rushing yards or something. And now I'm not sure he's going to be the starter.
Oh, it's happening, Jeff.
And I love Kenneth Walker. I think he's more talented than Zach Charbonnet, no question. But he has health inconsistencies. That's kind of been a footprint with him in the NFL, unfortunately. And Zach Charbonnet just continues to – I cannot believe I'm saying this. He's playing well. He's playing good football. And he sees clear lanes, and he sort of executes it with like a little bit more – I don't want to say like vision confidence, but it almost kind of feels that way to some extent. And it hurts me. It's painful to say this, but I still think K9 is the better back. But I'm starting to wonder if K9's not even going to be the starter, honestly.
Wow.
Was that the direction you expected me to go?
I'm glad that the interesting thing there is that's not really a reason to be less optimistic. That's a reason why you think someone else might eclipse another guy. So it's kind of like something that you want to happen that you're starting to lose confidence might happen.
Yes.
And that's a good one too. I loved hearing that. Was an interesting one to hear from you, especially. I'm really searching for like, guys, the point that we're going through here is we're out over our skis a little bit after 2 preseason games, right?
Oh, 100%.
No, we are not. No, we are not.
I'll give you one.
No, we are not.
Why not?
Or I'll pour some cold water if you want.
We have taken – John Ben has taken a freaking, I don't know, pleasure stick and jammed it into my veins, and he's saying, Evan, get ready, buddy. The interior offensive line is going to be top 15. This unit's going to be mauling dudes in the run game, and you're going to have a very capable offense. Get ready, buddy. The ceiling's higher than you think it is. And I'm starting to feel it pulse through my body. Okay, this is something I've not experienced before as an adult. Okay, this is a new feeling. Okay, I've not experienced this. So to answer your question, Brian, I don't even know what your question was.
You're addicted.
Yeah,
I'm addicted. I'm caught on that hopium right now. It's 6 days after a game 2 preseason game, and I'm still thinking about this game. So
it was one of the most enjoyable preseason games I've ever watched. Period.
I would say the most.
Yeah.
I could go there, but I'd have to really go through the memory banks. But that was almost exactly the kind of football team I wanted to be able to cheer for.
I mean, that first drive was something out of like sensual ecstasy.
It was erotic.
That was absolutely erotic. That was insane. I was overheating.
I've never seen a team like completely flip their identity in a preseason game. And like you could feel that, man.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so Jeff, I heard you saying you could pour some cold water. I want some. I know people are gonna be like, they're gonna remember this, and you're like, why are you trying to calm things down? The thing that I hate the most, the reason I actually started the blog all those years ago, one was because I wanted to find somebody to talk about the Seahawks with because my family didn't care about him. And 2, I hated that feeling of getting in the stadium or turning on the game on game day, being convinced the Seahawks were going to be good and the Seahawks were going to win, and then watching them just massively disappoint me. And so I had spent a ton of energy trying to figure out for myself whether they were actually going to be good. so I could actually protect my fragile little heart. And so we're in this situation where, guys, this team absolutely looks like it could be one of the best teams in the NFC. That is an insane thing to say after preseason games. It's an insane thing to say with Sam Darnold as your starting quarterback. It's an insane thing to say with one of the youngest offensive lines, with Clint Kubiak as your offense. Like, it's an insane thing to say. But that's where I'm at. So, Jeff, like, help me like stay grounded here.
Well, I think when most people analyze this roster, the thing a lot of people will point to first is the secondary. And on paper, there are a few teams that do have a better secondary than the Seahawks. But there's just too many times where I watch the talent they have, and I don't see them look like a dominant secondary enough. And I know like Tariq Woolen's metrics looks really good, and Witherspoon will flash. But collectively, like, I don't see the secondary. There was that game we all went to in Denver last year where it looked like that. And you see Nick Manori. I know he's going to have some struggles. He's a raw player, and some coaches earlier are probably going to attack him. Like Julian Love was great, but I think collectively, I need to see more from them. I think they're a bit overrated on paper as a unit, and I love the talent, but there's just not enough games where I see disruption from them. And we talked about it on our show last week, and you saw the same thing at the stadium, Brian. And again, on paper, they look great, but there's just not enough times where you're seeing Witherspoon impact the game, or you're seeing on a non-blitzing situation or tackling. I want to see them disrupt other teams' passing games far more often. If they're not that good, that impacts a lot of the way we look at this team, because Baltimore, they really did that. And with Kyle Hamilton and Marlon Humphrey, I know, Brian, big fan of your guys. I need to see more from those guys, even though they do look great on paper.
Yeah, it's funny you bring it up. And Evan, you started with this, and I think you're on to something. The defense hasn't looked that great. Now, everyone was like, well, look, they allowed less than, a couple hundred yards or whatever it was, and all this stuff. The pass rush hasn't been good so far. We didn't see anything from Byron Murphy that was that great. We haven't seen anything from Derek Hall or Boye Mafe that looks any different than what we've seen. Now, we haven't seen DeMarcus Lawrence. We haven't seen Leonard Williams. I happen to think DeMarcus Lawrence is going to be a lot better than people realize. But Nicky Manwari, you know how high I have been on them drafting Nicky Manwari. I think it might be a rough first year for him. Like, I'm not sure he's going to be a quick study. I don't know. And he could get picked on. I agree with you, Jeff. The secondary wasn't particularly tight in that game, and the depth in the secondary, especially corner, I don't know if I feel that great about. So, and then the depth at inside linebacker, don't know how I feel about that. So, like, it would be weird to enter the season and to find out that the defense, Mike McDonald's defense, is the one that we're like, Brock Purdy's carving up this defense with Ricky Pearsall and Robbie Chosen. Like, what's going on?
That better not happen.
Yeah.
I'll have a very negative in-person reaction if that occurs. Very negative.
No less. Well, so, I mean, Clint Kubiak. Can we touch on this for a second? Because you guys talk about Benton. Clint Kubiak looks like a one-and-done coach. Like, he looks like the next great offensive coordinator. Like,
all right.
No, he does.
Pump the brakes. Pump the brakes.
Imagine interviewing that guy for a head coaching job, though.
Fair.
He is a little blank.
He might be the driest human I've ever heard.
Dude, I hadn't thought about that, Jeff. Like, maybe that's the saving grace.
Like, his press conferences, I know you got some stuff out of him. I was told when he came here, he's a football guy that just doesn't have personality. And I can't think of him getting through a head coaching interview where he just wows someone.
Did you guys see the interview with Mike McDonald and either Richard Sherman or I forget who the other Mike Robb, who they were talking about Clint Kubiak. I think it was the Sherman interview. And Mike Mack was saying how, like, this was actually a little funny, guys. When Clint Kubiak got to Seattle, he asked John Schneider and Mike Mack, he was like, hey, yeah, so just to be clear, like, the same guy, we're not expecting any major personnel changes, right? Like, this is pre-Geno, pre-DK, and John and Mike were like, oh, yeah, no, totally. We got the same guys. Like, we're confident. And then, like, a week later, all those trades went down, and Mike Mack said he had to, like, pull Clint aside and be like, "Oh, it's going to be okay" or something. I'm paraphrasing, but I thought that was funny, that interaction that he foretold.
Well, that was funny and revealing.
Yeah.
I mean, Mike McDonald is not a bullshitter. And so for him to like hire somebody, kind of commit to that, also having gone on all those other shows and be like, of course, why are you even asking? Geno Smith's going to be a quarterback. And for it to not happen, like everybody is like, God, why the Seahawks? They're so stupid to have made this decision. Mike McDonald did not want these changes. It's pretty clear he did not. And Clint Kubiak, I was at the press conference, he was like, Geno Smith. He was like all about Geno Smith and DK Metcalf. So none of that was baloney. And if they go through that, have navigated those waters and come out the other side, pretty good. That'd be pretty good.
How old is Kubiak?
He's like the same age as McDonald, I think. I think he's like 38.
Interesting.
Yeah, I'll pull it up real quick. He's 38. Yeah.
How old is Aiden Dirt?
Aiden Dirty is, I think he's in his 40s.
Okay, yeah, I do think he's
46. Yeah.
Okay.
I like it. AD so much, man. And it is interesting that he's been getting more chances to do play calling. And that's a guy that if he does get a head coaching interview, they're going to hire him.
Yeah.
Like, that guy is, it's not an accident that Micah Parsons and Jonathan Hankins and DeMarcus Lawrence, all these guys want to play for him. Like he's special. But he's still got some learning to do, but I think he's really good.
Did you know?
Let's do some Patreon questions. I got some Patreon questions for you guys, and then we've got some more to cover. But while I do that, I want to tease a little bit. So Seahawks Saturday with Jeff Simmons is always one of the most popular shows every week. This Saturday, Jeff and I are going to do a show from 9 to 10, and then I've got a guest that I've always wanted to have finally agreed to be on the show. We'll be on the show this Saturday at 10 a.m. Pacific time. I'm not going to tell you who.
Wait, give me a clue.
I'm not going to give you a clue. I will
a tiny one.
I can't think of one that's not going to give it away. I'll just say this, like, he's probably the number one person I've wanted to have on the show that I've not been able to get on the show. And he's going to be on the show.
Oh, I know who it is. I'm not going to say it though.
So, all right. So let's get to some Patreon questions. Sign up at patreon.com/hawkblogger. And you can ask us questions each and every week. Access to the Discord channel, which is what I'm looking at right now. And this is a question for Evan. It comes from Zihio. I'm not exactly sure. Xijio. What are your plans to troll 49ers fans? Bonus points for players and coaches too prior to our week one matchup.
You know, this is how I'll describe my relationship with the 49ers fan base. You have to understand, there's no planning to my trolling. I just speak what I feel in the moment, and I just go off of vibes. So if I want to say something that's going to potentially get them to try and dox me, hunt me down, and kill me, there's a good chance I'm probably going to say it. So there's not like a ton of forethought from my perspective, to be quite honest with you guys. I'll probably be doing some tweeting. Probably tagging Grant Cohn a little bit to egg him on and, get them revolting against him early in the season, because he always has an appetite for that. But during the game is a better question, because I don't want to like self-incriminate myself.
I hope you know that, your trolling is going to have a much larger platform. Do you know how many people watched at least some of our content in the last 28 days?
And do you know how many people have probably complained about me in the last 28 days?
Well, it's going to be 2.5 million
Former
people.
Seahawks might have.
2.5 million people have watched in
Jeff.
the last 28 days. And if they see what you start saying about the 49ers, it's going to be better. Oh, it's going to be so good. All right, Jeff, this comes from Sam Brown. Is there anything you could see in the final preseason game that would make you change any part of your prediction for the season?
No.
And let's set out injury. Like that's an obvious one, but like, is there anything you could see in the final preseason game?
Not really. I think I've seen what I need to see at this point. I think the third preseason game is mostly going to be third stringers and backups. And the only thing, the only thing you covered is the injury. But no, I don't think there's a single thing I can see. I think most of the guys who are going to be contributors will not be playing.
All right, this is for both of you to just kind of throw out there if you've got any opinion. This is from Braxton. Says, do you think the Seahawks will trade for another edge before the start of the season or sign one? I'll throw that. He did not say that, but trade for one or sign one. Or has Uchenna Nwosu's return and Jared Ivey's emergence changed your perspective? Either of you have a strong take on that?
I hope they don't do some bombshell trade. I know.
Really? Why not?
What's his face?
Trey Hendrickson?
No, the Dallas guy.
Micah Parsons.
I'm really bought into what they're building right now, organically through the draft, at home. I have a little bit of post-trade trauma from several of the last stars that they've acquired and immediately highly paid and not always worked out. So I just think the vibes are really important right now. The locker room is really bought in around the trajectory of this football team, and they respect Mike McDonald. And I don't want to do anything to ruin that. And I think chemistry is really important. Locker room chemistry is really critical. And I just don't think a Trey Hendrickson, Micah Parsons, it'd be nice. Micah Parsons is, obviously on track to be one of the best defensive players in football history, but I still don't think it would be worth what it takes to acquire him. So,
Jeff, you feel the same, different?
More or less. I don't like. I think the idea of swapping out Mafe for Hendrickson would excite me because Mafe, as much as he's a young player, you're gonna have to decide what to do with him, and I'm really unsure where that goes. But I just think the Bengals are such a hard team to deal with, to find a price point and pay him $40 million a year. I just don't see it happening.
Let me ask you this. This is related to this, guys. Do you think it is a higher risk? Would you feel like it's, if I told you that Boye Mafe was going to sign a Josh Sweat level extension next year, and you're going to have him, or you trade for Trey Hendrickson and sign him to a market rate deal, which is probably twice what the Josh Sweat deal was. Which of those do you think you're going to regret most?
Mafe.
Evan?
I think it's Mafe too, but I will say this. I think it's Parsons more likely getting close to three times.
I'm not talking Parsons. I'm talking Hendrickson. I don't think Parsons is real.
Gotcha. It's Mafe for sure.
Well, if that's the case, then why isn't it an easy decision?
Because you have to solve the middle ground of what the draft pick is. I think if it's a third, I'm pretty comfortable doing that.
Yeah.
Anna Rossini said they want a first.
They're not getting a first.
I know, but
They're
the Bengals are morons. This is why these things keep escalating.
There's just no way. I mean, I think it's not crazy they could get a second, but this is the thing. I think people are, there's a fallacy out there that you shouldn't trade for the old guy and pay him and give up a young player. And I think that all on its face makes sense. At the same time, if you ask me this, would the Seahawks be a better team paying Trey Hendrickson and trading a Mafe and a third over the next 3 years, or would they be a better team and reach a higher peak if they kept Mafe and the pick and signed him? I think they'd be better with Hendrickson.
He's up there in age, though, man.
I know it's a risk. It's not a slam dunk.
If it's not a slam dunk, I'm not doing it then. I'm not messing with the vibes if it's not a slam dunk.
You don't have to worry about the vibes with Hendrickson. You'd have to worry about the vibes with Parsons.
Okay, fair. That's a reasonable take. I have trauma, man, from these trades.
I know.
Yeah.
Why does no one mention the Leonard Williams? He's the best player on the team. That's how they got him.
Fair. Would they give up a second?
Second and a fifth.
Everyone thought it was a colossal overpay, and He was their best player by far last year.
Not only was it a second and a fifth, they did not sign him to an extension during the season. And then the deal that he signed, is a steal.
It's a reasonable deal. It's
it's a steal, dude. He is playing at a 30 million plus level, and he's a 21 million a year player. Like in 1 year, he absolutely blew away the number he's getting paid for.
Yeah, I mean, I'll give you this, Brian. I'm very nervous about paying Boye Mafe.
So am I.
That's a discussion I think for a little bit later. But
that's part of the Hendrickson thing, because everyone thinks you're just giving up a young player. You're saving yourself a $20 million a year expenditure.
Yeah.
But to answer your question, Brian, I've been there's like probably gifs of people just staring at blank screens. I've been kind of doing that, hoping Clowney signed. I've been kind of waiting every day. And I don't know. I don't know what he has left in the tank, but I always kind of got a soft spot for him. So I don't know how the Nwosu thing changes that. But I've just been like sitting at my Twitter every day being like, Brady keeps mentioning it. What's going on?
Yeah.
I mean, like that.
He's not going to sign until like the week before the season or something like that. Like he does not like training camp or practicing or anything like that. And he knows he'll get signed. I don't know. I think I've talked myself into, I'm fine if they don't make any move at that position. I'm fine if they make a middle ground move like signing Clowney. I think I'd be most excited if they went and got an alpha pass rusher, an edge rusher, because I think that's the missing piece. I think that everything clicks into place with that move. And I wish Trey Hendrickson was a better run defender, but I think he'd be a good fit here.
You got Marcus Lawrence for that?
Yeah. He's the other side for sure.
What's this team's ceiling with a Trey Hendrickson instead of like flop those two? What's the ceiling?
Well, it comes back to the offense question. If the offense is a top half of the league, let's just say if they're a top 10 rushing offense, that's the barometer for me. Everyone's talking about like if they're a top 10 rushing offense, and then you add a player like that to the defense, I think they're a Super Bowl contender. But it's a big if. You still got to prove that you can be a top 10 rushing offense. All right, let's keep going. Kyle G, this is a question for Jeff. What would be a disappointing second season look? What would a disappointing second season look like for Byron Murphy? What would count as a successful one?
It's hard to put like a number because I don't know how many sacks he's going to generate, that kind of player. But I think just from the eye test, you have to see him disrupt more. And I thought like the metrics, you had to really look to see what he was doing. Like he was a nose tackle. He was doing double teams. You couldn't really see him if you were a casual viewer. I think for him to be good, and you really have to see him disrupt. And I think one of the flaws before Leonard Williams broke out was the Seahawks weren't just disrupting enough of the other team's offenses. And the reason that Murphy was so regarded in the draft was, and even Sean McVay liked him better than Jared Verse, which probably like to have that take back. But I think you really need to see flashes, and a lot of the defensive tackles didn't click till year 3, like Quinnen Williams and Matabuke and all these guys. But I need to see more flashes on the screen of just him disrupting plays.
Jeff, I love how you articulated that. I think it's very simply put. The average fan needs to be calling out his name live during a game because they see guys flying across the screen in the middle of the offensive line, right? I want to see him mauling dudes. I want to see him throwing dudes. And we just haven't seen that. So,
yeah, the thing for me that made me fall in love with Byron Murphy as a prospect was not sacks. He's not a guy that piles up a ton of sacks, but he was unblockable. He was just like, everyone was focused on who was the big guy that played next to him. That was the Tavondre Sweat. Right. Everyone was talking about him, and I couldn't get my eyes off Murphy. Like all the blocking was going to Murphy. They were having to double him, and they could not contain him whenever he was in that last year he was playing. And he doesn't have to have a lot of counting stats for me to feel like he is what he should be. He just needs to be disruptive and cause them to have to pay enough attention to him that other guys are getting free. And ideally that there's a few of those big tackles for losses and some sacks, or that he's pushing quarterbacks into other people's hands, anything like that. So it did take Byron Murphy 3 years in college to become Byron Murphy. It took him a while in high school to become Byron Murphy, and he wasn't highly recruited initially. So there is some history of him taking a little bit of time to get his acclimated to a new level. I just, I'm impatient. I would like to see it now. And I'm tired of hearing defensive player of the year talk from there until he even looks like he dominates a practice.
There's such a huge discrepancy, Brian, between like what we see and what you're seeing in training camp and the way Mike McDonald talks about him. I'm my brain's struggling to like reconcile those two things. And I'm just trusting Mike McDonald, obviously, because he's the guy and he's a defensive guru, but like there's a big gap there for me. And I'm struggling to process that right now.
I think part of the thing I attribute it to is Byron is terrific at taking on and defeating double teams. And that is a trait that defensive coaches, defensive players have a ton of respect for. The average fan, eating up a double team is not going to like get a poster put on a wall somewhere, and I do think that it is not out of the question at all that defensive tackle play comes to the forefront during the regular season and not in a practice. Like, I don't think that's a crazy thing for certain kinds of players. At the same time, Leonard Williams took over the practice yesterday. Like, he was dominant. I've seen defensive tackles have dominant. Michael Bennett used to be just like a handful all the time. I feel like I should see some of that from Byron Murphy, and I just don't see it very often. So Amy Holmes brings up that Earl Thomas, E.T., was on the Seahawkers pod, and he gives the Seahawks 7 to 9 wins. Do you think that we're just being homers and are not being realistic? It's kind of the point of the show tonight.
Earl said that recently?
Apparently. Yesterday, I think he was on the Seahawkers pod.
If I speak, I am in big trouble. So I
you're on the show, dude.
So I will not be speaking, but that's disappointing to hear.
I'll just say, Earl Thomas is one of the best safeties to ever set foot on a football field and one of the best Seahawks ever. KJ Wright has been one of the better linebackers in Seahawks history, and he thought Tedrick Thompson was going to be a Pro Bowl level player. So
also other really fun opinions too.
I wouldn't necessarily put a lot of stock into, how much Earl Thomas has actually paid attention to who's on this team and how much, I don't know. I'm not swayed by that. I guess I'll put that out there. All right. This is a good one. Evan, this is for you.
Yes.
Paul says, still no contract extensions for the 2022 class.
Yeah.
Are we really going to start the season with none of the 2022 draft class extended? All we've seen so far is Charles Cross given a 5th-year option.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like we need to see if K9 can stay healthy this year. I know I was championing for like a buy low extension with him earlier, like even a few weeks ago, like a month ago. But then again, he misses time again in training camp with a foot injury. It seems like he's healthy again. But when I look through the list of that draft class, I'll go back to it, Brian. The guy that I'm most nervous about paying, and I am no big Reek Woolen fan. Everybody on this podcast knows this. It's Boye Mafe. That guy, that position commands a very high premium. I don't think it's out of the world that we're talking in the high 20s, low 30s for him. If he has a good year, maybe even higher if he has a really excellent year. But he is a guy that disappears for far too long in and just frankly, we talk about disruption on a game-by-game basis. I don't see it enough consistently from him to feel comfortable allocating that type of cap dollar to him. So, I mean, I'm just kind of running through the list here. Abe Lucas, I mean, if he can put together a great year, I think that's a easy extension. Pay him what he wants. I think right tackle is a super underrated position. Tariq is an interesting case. We've kind of gone back and forth with this. I'm not convinced the franchise is going to extend him, to be quite honest with you. So we'll see what happens with him. But yeah, I mean, Charles Cross had his 5th year picked up, and the 2 tackles should be here long term, right? I'm kind of just assuming that that's happening, but I think the others are up for discussion.
I gotta ask this for both of you, because this is part of. We haven't talked about this part of it. If let's assume that they all ball out.
Sure.
Ken Walker, offensive player of the year season. Reek Woolen, 7 picks, huge playmaker. Abe Lucas, healthy Pro Bowler. Boye Mafe, 12 sacks. All right. Of those guys, which of them would you be okay with not signing if they just become the best version of themselves?
You said Charles Cross was in that list?
I'm not going to include it because he's in his 5th year option. He's going to be here. So it's not even really worth putting him on that list. It's the other guys. This is Boye Mafe, Reek Woolen, Ken Walker, Abe Lucas. Kobe Bryant is in that list as well. Which of those guys, if they ball out, would you be would you be okay with saying, okay, he's going to have to go elsewhere?
Jeff, I'm going to make you answer this question first.
Well, you're not going to like my answer because I'm going to say Walker. And it's probably a bit of a cop-out, but
yeah.
Again, I think if the run game is built good enough that I don't think you're going to want to pay a guy like him for his highest point. And nothing against him. I think there's a pretty good case to sign him if he has a great year like that. But I think relative to a tackle, an edge, a corner, I think with Charbonnet sitting there and other running backs, you can always draft that position.
Yeah.
I think paying for his ceiling would not be the smartest move.
I mean, that's the obviously correct.
Yeah, it's a bit of a cop because Kobe Bryant would be next, and I don't think he should be put in that conversation. I think the other 3 are far more interesting.
Okay, let's go number 2 on the list, though.
I think Boye.
Really? Even if he sees the best version of himself, you're saying?
I don't know if I see it.
But say it happens, though. This guy's a game record.
I don't want to go searching for another right tackle. I really don't. I don't want to have to go into that water. Corner, yeah, but there's probably a good case for Woolen just because he's very. He makes me very uncomfortable as a player.
I think it's Reek for me potentially.
I think I'd go Mafe still.
We're probably going to be facing this question. I think we're going to be looking at a very good player, not necessarily a great player, but a very good player that we're watching walk out the building. And I'm very curious. I'm very curious how that'll play out.
What's their cap room for next year?
It's a lot.
They're top 12, I think.
Yeah, they're projected $55 million right now.
They should be able to sign every one of those guys if they want to.
Yeah.
Well, Brian, what's your take? You're around the team. Why? It is odd they haven't signed any of these guys yet.
It is really. I think it's one of the most surprising parts of camp. Honestly, I would have thought it was a certainty that we would have at least Kobe Bryant signed to an extension. He is the perfect guy to sign to extension. It's not going to break the bank. He's about to get his first full season as a starter. He's shown enough that you know what he is. It's just like Julian Love from a year ago where they got him before he had his first full great season with Mike McDonald. Maybe it's still going to happen, but that one's been a shock to me. I get why you don't sign Charles Cross because you've got him on a 5th-year option for next year, but every day that you don't sign him, another tackle signs and the price goes up. And this has been my thing with Abe Lucas. Like, it seems the evidence is very clear, guys, that John Schneider doesn't care how much it costs.
Yeah.
He cares much more about being sure that he wants you and that the team wants you around. And
is that good? Is that a good idea?
Well, see, this is like a whole nother topic, because let's play a little game for a second.
Yeah.
The Seahawks offensive line, I actually have done the math, and I'll tell on another show whether it's the youngest starting offensive line in the league or not. I'm not going to tell you now, but it's close. Let's say that they all ball out. How are you going to afford those guys? Like, Anthony Bradford's going to be coming up for a contract after next year. You've got Abe Lucas. You've got Charles Cross. You've got Gray Zabel, Jalen Sundell. Gray Zabel's under contract for a while. Jalen Sundell's got 2 more years. Imagine having a top 5 offensive line that's like also one of the youngest in the NFL, and having to say goodbye to those guys and not be able to do what Philadelphia has done, not be able to do.
Philadelphia did that, though. Philadelphia lets one of those guards, they let the guy Sumalo go to Pittsburgh, and they let Becton go. So if you're going to have to cut ties, it's probably the Bradford of this case, where you're going to have to redraft Bradford, but you got to keep Zabel, you got to keep the tackles. That's what Philly's done.
The point there, though, Jeff, is the only reason you have to do that is because you refuse to pay ahead of performance.
Well,
like, it drives me nuts. It is so fiscally silly to me to take a guy in Abe Lucas who everybody with a pair of eyes can see this guy is going to be a great player, and you're going to pay such a premium because you are waiting. Put in injury clauses, put in playing time clauses to protect. Like, there's ways to protect yourself. You don't have to go all the way in. I think it's super irresponsible to not sign a guy like that before the season starts. And I think it's another good player.
Well, they haven't done this well at all. Like, Tyler Lockett was one of the only ones they've done this on early, and a lot of people were devastated they let Paul Richardson go, and that looked very prudent. Julian Love last year, the staff identified him. They got great value out of it. But other than those two, I think they're still so shook from this Percy Harvin Golden Tate thing. I think they've made a lot of poor decisions and they really haven't got ahead of really any other player in this whole 14-year run here.
Yeah.
Like, they pay top of market, but where have they bought low in their own internal players? And
to this point, like, you're letting players walk out the door because you can't afford them because you chose to wait. That's going to drive me crazy in a year or two. Like, I will come back and I will bitch and moan about it on this show regularly. All right, there's a couple more, and then we'll keep going. I know we're past time. I appreciate you guys hanging out. This is too much fun to stop. This is from Fimanshi, and it's just a simple one for Evan. It just says Zach Charbonnet ?
Maybe.
Oh, that's a big change. Maybe.
Wow.
Well, Evan, I gotta ask. Like, I know that you got the concerns about Ken Walker and his playing. What's changed about your opinion about Zach Charbonnet?
It's not that like a whole ton has changed. It's more like the situation around him, I think, is improving to such a high extent that I'm very confident in his ability to excel when everything is going around him. And I don't have as many injury concerns about him. So he just seems like the more consistent, reliable back in an environment where things are going well. I've always said this from day one. It's like, I don't believe Zach Charbonnet is a more talented back than K9, especially when dealing with a run blocking unit that struggles, because I don't think he can really create his own magic or holes or lanes. Like, that's something K9 excels at. But sometimes you just have to pick a lane, see the vision, and go with it. And Zach Charbonnet seems to have a little bit more confidence with that.
Did you hear what Daniel Jeremiah said about him? I know, Jeff, you did.
Yeah.
On Brock and Sock?
Yeah.
No. What'd he say?
Jeff, you want to say?
He said he just sees the holes quicker than Walker does. His vision is better.
Vision's better. He sorts through the mess.
He sorts through it quicker, and I would agree with that. I think Walker's obviously got way more of the boomer bust, but more of just like the boom. Like he can create his special, what he can do in the open field. But I think with Charbonnet, he's just really reliable, and he doesn't make a lot of mistakes. And you just, even if you watch like the mic'd up segments, just the way how confident he is and how the team kind of, he just Mike's been taking a couple digs at Walker too. I don't know if you guys have caught this. Yeah. He's like, he looked really good when he was on the field, and he needs to kind of get back. Brady keeps kind of alluding to this Charbonnet thing. I don't know, man.
Yeah. I'll just say this, that Kenneth Walker, I think that it's been long enough that they've forgotten what it was like to see him when he had some blocking in front of him. Oh. That Chargers game a few years ago where that fan flipped him off after going 70 yards. Like, that guy, I think he's going to reemerge this year. And I know there's all this talk about injury, and who knows? Like, who knows how that'll play out? All I can say is you give Kenneth Walker the blocking that we're seeing preseason, he could play 6 games and have 1,000 yards. Like, he could have multiple 200-yard games. He's just so much more talented than anybody else in that backfield. And that doesn't mean the other guys aren't talented. He's special. So
he needs to stay healthy. He needs to stay on the football field.
I just want to see, like, I almost don't care who the starter is or what the snap splits are or any of that. I want to see Ken Walker run behind this line when they're blocking well, because it's just, if you're a fan of football, you should want to see that.
Yeah.
Like, that's fun.
Yeah, like everyone in the media right now is like jerking off the Denver Broncos. I'm like, I need to fade them so hard just out of spite. And we were at that game last year for this world's greatest defense that everyone's talking about. And Ken Walker with freaking Ryan Grubb's offensive line was the best player on the field and dominated. Have you guys caught this? Like, literally everyone in the media is like, the Denver Broncos are Super Bowl contenders.
Uh-huh.
I can save that for a different day. But Ken Walker beat them on his own with 2 safeties.
He did. I did not expect that either. Thank you for that. All right, one more question here, and then we got a couple super chats. Coremeister, this one's for me. It says, I'm fascinated by all the media predictions about how the team headed into the season. What influence do you think the national media's narratives are having on the fan base? Do you think fans are excited about the team heading into the season? Well, we can all kind of chip in on this one. I get the feeling that there's more buzz around this team than there's been for a few years. And last year I had the opposite feeling. It was like, man, this team is like, I'm excited. They hired Mike McDonald. They I loved the whole thing. And it was kind of like, dude, this guy's boring. I'm not interested. Pete Carroll was my guy. I don't know. Do you guys feel that? Like, you guys, obviously the two of you feel it, but do you feel like the fan base, you get a feeling people are getting excited about this group?
You go ahead, Jeff.
I think after watching the preseason, it's really changed. I think people were so unsure of what to think with all the offensive changes and the way Darnold ended last year and the unknown of Clint Kubiak. I think that was just lingering around, but I think a lot of that has gone. And you've seen the national media really since that game, like Dan Orlovsky, Daniel Jeremiah, they both went on the Pat McAfee show and outright talked about the Seahawks, who get no attention on that show. So I can't remember who else brought up the Seahawks, but there's a group of guys on the internet, one of them who went at Brian, who want to be so right that they're just still crapping all over the Seahawks. And so I think it depends on what kind of fans, who you listen to. If you listen to the Ringer guys, if you listen to the Athletic Show, maybe you're got more cold water. But I think if you're listening to kind of the turn of the tide after kind of watching these games, it feels like the vibes right now around the team have completely flipped.
You know what's part of it too? And we'll get into this on season prediction show next week, which, by the way, I've already filled out my predictions today. I'm going to have to, they're not finalized. I will say this. The first time I went through the schedule, guys, I was like, I kept coming to 14 wins. And I'm like, that can't be. Like, I had to like talk myself down. Like, anyway, part of what I think is going on, it's not just the Seahawks playing well and almost all the things that we were worried about looking like they could actually be good as opposed to a weakness. But you look around the division, you look at the 49ers, like everything that could go wrong has been going wrong for that team. And the things that they've got, I don't know. Is anyone really scared of the 49ers the way that they've been in the past? I don't think anybody is.
No.
You look at the Rams, the Stafford thing, even though he's back to practicing, and yes, they've got a lot of young talent. Like, does anyone feel like super intimidated by the Rams, even if they are full strength with Stafford? Like, I don't know if you are. And the Cardinals are the Cardinals. Like, I think they actually might be decent, but I think that's all part of it where it's like, okay, feels like a lot of things are going right for the Seahawks, and it feels like a lot of things are not going right for everybody else in the division.
Brian, you know what's going to happen?
What?
Week 1, Daddy's home. The Seattle Seahawks are going to smack the living shit out of the 49ers. I'm serious. It's going to happen.
Grant said on your show, Brian, like a few months ago that like the Seahawks are really catching them at the right time. And at first I'm like, Grant's just being a shithead. But all of a sudden with like Alfred Collins is flaking and they're very injured. Mykel Williams hasn't been on the field in weeks and CJ West got banged up. And you see the Seahawks run game and you see the corners and I think he was right. Like, if the Seahawks can just run the crap out of the ball and have to see Robert Saleh on the sideline steaming, that is going to be like as erotic as what we just saw last week times 50. But I think Grant was right.
Did you guys see the CJ West interview where he was talking shit about Gray Zabel?
I did not.
Okay, let me see if I can find this real quick. It's worth it if I can find this. If someone's got the link, drop it in chat, and I'll get it up there. But
when did this happen? Like today?
This week. So
why is CJ West talking trash? What has he done?
That is a justifiable question. All right. So I know I've got okay, here it is. I've got it. Because you better believe I am going to make sure certain people see this. All right. All right, here it is. I'm just going to play the sound for you guys. If I can get back to God dang it. I got to get back to the right tab.
No, this is worth saying. I'm willing to wait for this. This is
oh my God. Why can't
was it bad? Like what, like was he aggressive?
You're gonna see. Hold on. All right. Share screen.
CJ West, he was drafted in the 4th round. So 3 rounds earlier than I was. Okay. This dude should not be talking any smack.
All right. Where is it? It's this one. Where is it? X. God darn it.
One more second. I see everything.
Instagram. Sorry, guys. We'll get there. All right. Here it is. Okay. Share this tab. All right. Can you hear this?
No.
Oh, right. I haven't put it on stage. That's why. Okay, hold on. Now you guys are going to hear this. All right. Here we go.
Now, I mean, a division opponent, Seattle Seahawks, we don't like them around here. They spent a 1st-round pick on a center. So, like,
not a center.
You're going to have, man, a heavyweight battle twice a year minimum. Sometimes they make the playoffs. But, like, dude, like, does that add fuel to the fire? Like, okay, I know my enemy now. And he's a Midwest guy, too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure, because he can't block me. Nobody's stopping that. I'm not gonna let him block me. That's not like he can't block me. That's my mentality. But I'm excited for that. Like, and I'm just gonna continue to bring that dominance.
We don't need to hear the rest of it. He can't block me.
All right, we'll play the tape after week 1. We'll see how it goes.
Just sounds like a moron.
Come on.
I mean, I think that's a really foolish thing to say.
Like,
we will see.
Nick Bosa said that, I get it, but like CJ West, you're not even a pass rusher.
Brian, is Zabel being interviewed this week at all? You should.
No, I will not be interviewing him this week. But I'm going to see what I can do to talk to Mr. Zabel before the first game for sure. All right, so let's get to super chats before we wrap. I know we've gone long here. Zach Schwartz says there are certain Seahawks fans that make me want to root against, hate watch the Raiders. I know some people here that agree with that. Those fans might like beans and toast. That sounds like.
I choose not to speak.
If I speak, I am in big trouble.
Say your mind. Speak your mind. That's why you're here.
No, I am choosing peace and serenity in the universe.
Okay. Jeff Jennings says the Benton effect. Yes. Well, John Benton could be the most popular offensive line coach in the NFL if things go the way they look like they might go for the Seahawks. No question. He might be a guy that gets paid more than other assistant coaches. Like there's a lot to gain here. No More Pain at 57 has been a member for a year. And he says it's the Benton Dennison tandem. People are already, making legends of these guys. No Pangea says buy-ish, not quite full buy on Bradford. He says Bradford's weaknesses will be much better masked with better teammates at his side. Please God, no injuries. I think we all can get behind that. Will Fries, who the Seahawks did not sign, and maybe that'll end up being a very good thing. Who knows? Says, well, guys, the sky, meaning the Sky Moore, is falling. I'm not sure how we even have a chance in week 1 now that old Butterfingers Sky Moore has joined the 49ers. Might as well throw in the towel. Yes. Halo Hawk says, will teams look to Drew Lock if their starter goes down this year? Would John Schneider trade him? If so, what does trade comp look like? All right, let's take that in 2 parts. Will John Schneider consider trading Drew Lock?
No shot.
I think he'd rather give up beer than trade Drew Lock.
That's a good one, Jeff.
That's on a roll.
All right. And if that's not true, if he is willing to trade him, what do you think comp would be for Drew Lock? Honestly, not smart ass.
You saw those trades today, like the 6-7 swaps. Like
I think you could get a 5th for Drew Lock.
Yeah, like Sam Howell went for like a 5th-ish.
Mm-hmm. If you're a desperate team for a quarterback, I think you could get a 5th for Drew Lock.
Who's trading for Drew Lock? I
really like Drew Lock. I want to be really clear. I think he's an awesome guy. I think he's had a really good preseason. I think he's a totally fine backup quarterback. The only issue I had over all those years was this notion that he was the starter in waiting. That was my issue. Like, I don't see him as that. I don't think he should be that. But I think he's a really good backup quarterback, and I think he can win you a couple games if he has to come in as a starter. Like, I don't think he's a terrible player or anything like that. I just don't see him as a starter.
I loved his run he had against the Chiefs.
He should have scored. I don't know why he did the pause there.
You saw, as soon as he got up, he turned and was smiling at the defensive players too. It was funny.
Yeah.
I watched the Seahawks all access mic'd up, and you can see how much the players love that guy.
Yeah,
and
he's a stud.
He's a clubhouse guy, but I don't see anyone trading for that. He's been a free agent.
He's like the perfect personality hire. I feel like he raises the vibes, and he's okay.
That matters, right? No,
it does. It 100% does.
I think one of the things that stood out about this team from the jump in camp this year was just how much more together they were. There was no one that was above anybody else. Like, all of the players seem completely together. And that's pretty cool. I think he's part of that. All right. Detail Car Pro says the buy-in and camaraderie, interesting. The buy-in and camaraderie we're seeing is going to pay big dividends. It's one of the most underrated things that fans don't give much attention to, but it builds on itself. I truly believe it and where this is headed. Watch out. I think that's a great comment. And I hadn't read it before I said what I just said. Just a total coincidence. All right. Last one here. Matt Anon has become a new member here on YouTube. Welcome to the crew. Appreciate it. All right, guys. Any closing thoughts from you, Evan? And then I'll come to you, Jeff.
No, I'm excited for our season prediction show next week. I cannot believe we're just a couple of weeks away from week 1. I'm so glad we're here. the vibes around this team are just really, really exciting right now. And I want us to just enjoy this moment because it may not last forever, but right now, like there's genuine optimism, I feel like flowing through the fan base. And, I'm excited about the trajectory that Mike McDonald has this football team on. So we'll see how the wins stack in the season, prediction show. So
Jeff?
This week there's not a lot of excitement around the preseason game, and I'm kind of there. Like I don't know if you can possibly see more than what you saw last week, but I'm curious how this joint practice goes with the Packers. And Matt LaFleur was one of the teams that kind of embarrassed Mike McDonald last year and kind of exposed him. And LaFleur's a pretty brilliant guy, and I'm curious to hear because I know like Albert Breer's made a lot of the comparisons between the Packers and the Seahawks and how their rosters are kind of similar. And I'm curious to hear it's only a day. Is that right, Brian?
Mm-hmm. One day.
So I'm just curious to hear what we get out of that because they're a team that kind of at the same level as the Seahawks. I want to hear how they stack up.
Yeah, it's funny. I think Saturday is going to be a fun day. Not only we have Seahawks Saturday with you, I have this special guest, and then I'm going to do a live hang for people that want to watch as the game's going on that afternoon. So, and Jeff, if you're interested, you're welcome to join. But we'll do play-by-play and talk through what's going on. I am curious about how Jalen Milroe looks in a game where maybe he gets the whole game. I don't know exactly how they're going to play that out, but that could be interesting. And yes, there's a question. Am I going to Green Bay? No, I am not going to Green Bay. I am making the choice for sanity and a little bit of savings to not travel all the way to Green Bay for one joint practice. By the way, almost all the beat reporters are coming home before the game. So like they're just going to see a practice, which that's their job. So, all right, folks. Thank you to Evan Hill HB. Thank you to Jeff Simmons. And thanks to all of you for hanging around. This was fun tonight, as usual. I'll be back tomorrow with another episode of Hawk Blogger Mornings. Until then, have a great rest of your night. That'll do it for us.